So, former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, who was on this show yesterday, has slammed the UK asylum system, saying that we should block asylum seekers from working to make the UK a less attractive destination. Sounds like common sense if you ask me. Speaking after a fact-finding mission to the border in southern Texas, which is being ravaged by illegal immigration as well, Jenrick warned the global asylum system has become a back door to the labour market for economic migrants who are in search of better prospects, but not in fear of their life. Currently, asylum seekers in Britain can work in shortage occupation areas, so care or agriculture, 12 months after their arrival. But now, it looks like we're going backwards, doesn't it? They could soon drop that to 6 months, as opposed to, blocking them forever. Jenrick, however, argues this time period should be increased instead. So tonight I am asking, look, should we block asylum seekers from working to make the UK less attractive? Let me know your thoughts. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com, tweet me at GBNews. I'll bring you the results of our poll very shortly. But first, here to go head-to-head is the former UKIP leader, Henry Bolton, and we've got activist Femi Nylander. Henry, why are we making Britain more attractive with this? Should we not just be blocking them from working to, frankly, deter them from coming?
Yes, I think we should, Patrick. Look, there's a number of things here. First of all, people will say, well, it's costing us money to accommodate these people. We're paying them benefits and so on. But there's various costs involved in them and staying.
Oh, I think we might have lost Henry there. All right, Femi, I'll throw it over to you, Femi. Look, Femi, these people are not going to end up being a net benefit no matter what we do, frankly. So we are going to end up having to house them somewhere or whatever. And we've had the recession numbers out today, Femi, and they show that actually we are GDP per capita worse off and are worse off for the longest, most consistent period that we have been since 1955. So what on earth can the argument be for allowing asylum seekers to work?
Well, I mean, obviously EU citizens are not asylum seekers, but we saw that Britain floundered, and part of the reason we're in a recession is because of this xenophobia, which led us to leave the European Union, despite the fact that migrants from the EU who are poorer than British people because of the way the EU
is Germany in recession?
Just let me get to the point, rather than going off on a tangent. The point being, of course, that British people don't want to do the jobs at the bottom of British society. They don't want to be fruit pickers. They don't really want to be, a lot of them don't really want to do cleaning and stuff like that. And you have a lot of migrant labour in the UK economy, which underpins the UK economy and it helps it function.
But that's legal, so what about asylum seekers?
But okay, asylum seekers. So on the one hand, you want to tell me asylum seekers are criminals, asylum seekers are awful people, they this, that, the rest. On the other hand, you want to say you want to force them into criminality by preventing them from being able to get any type of work. Asylum seekers are people who are seeking asylum because of the fact, usually, that they're coming from a position of war or a position of serious hardship. They're coming from France. Okay, so they've come to Europe from France. Okay, so what you're saying is that every single asylum seeker that comes to the EU should just stay in Italy or Greece, because that's where they land. That Italy and Greece should bear the whole burden of this, and that England should have no one.
I'm saying that we should deport a lot of them, actually.
You're saying we should deport a lot of them because you're a heartless person, Patrick, because you don't have any shared notion of humanity, because you don't believe that human beings who are fleeing war.
I do, Femi, and I will come back to you. But what I do believe is when I talk to former immigration ministers or people who are currently in government who tell me that we've got people who are members of ISIS and fanatics and people who are rapists and murderers
people who are members of the IDF
as well,
who have been murdering and raping Palestinian people.
Henry, I'll lob it back over to you now. Look, is there a case, for letting asylum seekers work? Femi's saying it's a humane thing to do. Maybe it is.
If the aim is to reduce the flow across the channel, then absolutely not. Of course, it is an incentive. It's one of a number of incentives for them to come over to the UK. Around about 1 in 11 Albanians, so they're not coming now, came to this country. Femi's just been talking about them fleeing war and so on. There was no war in Albania. This has been covered many times. It's part of NATO. It's an accession country to the European Union. It's in the Council of Europe, etc., etc. There is no war in Albania. There hasn't been for over 20 years. These people are coming here because there is an economic benefit in doing so. They were coming across the channel. They were claiming asylum. They were working, or some of them were allowed to work. And what happens then is that they send what's called remittances back to their home country. The UK, the last figures I've seen, I think they were 2018, sent £8 billion abroad in remittances. These are not included in the costs associated with dealing with asylum seekers. If we want to keep that money in the economy, we give the money to British jobs. And what Femi's saying about British workers not wanting those jobs is absolute rubbish. OK, my partner works as a support worker. OK, there are plenty of people who want to do the job, but they can't get the support to do it. And these asylum seekers and others, up until very recently, have been undercutting the British market because in those shortage jobs, then the employer can pay 80% of what they pay.
OK, I'm going to go back to Femi. Look, Femi, do you not think that it would make Britain a less desirable place to come for people coming across the Channel and other ways into Britain as well if they knew that when they got here they wouldn't be able to work until their claim had been processed? Yes or no?
Well, just quickly, I mean, Britain has people coming back from just fighting in an army that's been tried for genocide. So I don't think saying that ISIS people are coming. We're happy to have murderers coming back to our shores.
Let's drill down on that then, Femi.
Moving on.
Are you equating, say, ISIS fighters and jihadis with the people who've gone to fight for the IDF?
I'm saying the IDF is an army which is currently under trial at the ICJ for genocide, and our people who are coming back to Britain have been working in that army. It's an army which has killed 30,000
so British citizens who have gone to fight for the Israeli force against Hamas, and you are equating them,
I'm making a clear parallel. But the point is, of course, that you're driving to the key point. When you talk about economic migrants, what we have to say is, why are there economic migrants? Why are people trying to migrate from some of the poorest places in the world, some of the richest places in the world? Because we have huge economic inequality across the world.
Why
do we have huge economic equality across the world?
This is where we get into then, Femi,
Why do we have huge economic inequality?
Is it here? It's not really about any of that. It's about creating a global system, isn't it, in which we divvy up all of our wealth around the world.
No, it's about having a more equitable world where certain countries, like Britain, like France, like the US, don't exploit the developing world. Don't set up sweatshops in Bangladesh. Don't have mining companies in Africa.
So we have very quickly, as very often happens, right, we have very quickly gone from would it or would it not be a deterrent for people coming across the Channel if we told them they couldn't work, to we need to stop sweatshops in Bangladesh, we need to change a completely different worldview.
If we had a more people don't want to leave their homes, Patrick. People don't want to leave their homes. If we had a more equitable world and we weren't exploiting people in poor countries, they would stay at home. If we weren't starting wars, Palestinian refugees would. Palestinian refugees in 10 years' time, there's going to be a load of Palestinian refugees
people are leaving purely for economic reasons, and then also completely miss out the fact that a lot of the time they are leaving countries led by rabid Islamists.
When all these Palestinians are forced into the desert, you don't think they're going to become refugees? You don't think they're going to come try? Well, we're supporting.
Do you not seriously think, Femi, that the honest answer to this, Femi, the honest answer to this is that people in a lot of these countries actually end up electing people who turn out to be complete and utter lunatics.
You don't think some of them are going to come and try to Europe? You think if we left Gaza as it was and didn't blow it to pieces, they wouldn't stay at home? No, we're creating refugees, and we did it in Libya. We did it in Iraq.
Okay, right, Femi, I'm going to park that one there.
Patrick, and you know we do. You know we do.
There's quite a lot to come back to there, Henry. I'm going to drag it back to the original topic of discussion here, which is that, look, you know, if we did have asylum seekers that were allowed to work after 6 months here, then I suppose they would be paying some form of tax, wouldn't they? Would that not mean that we could then, you know, earn a bit of money from them, as it were?
Yeah, but then when you look at the remittances that are sent abroad, then actually, and the fact that actually they would probably be in the lower bracket of wages, we're not making very much money out of them. And if you look at all of the data, it says that immigrants from countries such as Nigeria, such as Afghanistan, such as Syria and so on, are actually a net cost. Even when they are working in the UK and across Europe, they are a net cost to the economies, not a net gain, if you like. But the other thing to bear in mind here, and because I think it is relevant, because if somebody comes over and they start a job, then as I said I was trying to say at the beginning when I think I lost the network, they are actually gaining more traction in terms of getting their asylum claim and their right to remain in the UK bedded in, because they've got a settled life, they've got an income and so on.
Right.
But bear in mind that a lot of this time we still don't know who these people are. And there is a connection with what Femi's saying. You know, Femi probably is against us bombing the Houthis. Well, right, they're fine, but the Houthis are the reason that there is so much poverty and suffering in Yemen, and why there's a problem.
It's not Saudi Arabia.
And so on
Not Saudi Arabia bombing Yemen with British bombs for the past 10 years.
All right.
And the Houthis started a civil war in 2014 against the legitimate government of Yemen. They are the reason. That civil war initiated by the Houthis is the reason
suffering in Yemen.
The people are suffering.
Comes from British bombs being dropped by Saudi Arabia.
Let's park it there, because it is not a discussion about Yemen and Saudi Arabia, etc., to be fair, but I suppose inevitably we're going to end up somewhere there, weren't we? Chaps, thank you very, very much, both of you. Look, who do you agree with? Should we block asylum seekers from working in the UK to make us less attractive as a destination? Wilson says they shouldn't be allowed to work, they shouldn't be receiving benefits or free healthcare, especially when they're going straight to the front of the queue. David says if we're letting them in, they should be encouraged to work, but we need to let a lot less in. Becky says working legally should be encouraged. It's fraud and false benefit claims which are the problem. Your verdict is in. 92% of you agree that we should block asylum seekers from working to make the UK less attractive. 8% of you say we shouldn't.